Good evening to one and all. Welcome to the third webinar organized by Kerala State Council for Science, Technology and Environment on the Nobel Prizes 2021. Today we are having the webinar on the Nobel Prize awarded to medicine or physiology. And as rightly pointed out in the website of the Royal Swedish Academy, the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine 2021 was awarded to Dr. Julius and Adam Patapoutian for their discoveries on the receptors for temperature and touch. As mentioned in their website, their discoveries have unlocked one of the secrets of nature by explaining the molecular basis of how the heat, cold, and mechanical forces are sensed. So, which is it is considered as a fundamental for our ability to feel, interpret, and interact with our internal and external environment. And today, for this webinar, we have a renowned speaker, Dr. K.R. Mahindran, who is currently working as a scientist E1 at the reputed Rajiv Gandhi Center for Biotechnology at Thiruvananthapuram, India. On behalf of KCST, I would like to invite Dr. Anil Kumar C, who is the Senior Principal Scientist at Kerala State Council for Science, Technology and Environment, to introduce the speaker. Over to you, Anil Kumar sir.
Hello. Hello.
Ah, sir. Now, yeah.
Hello, Arjun.
Hello, sir. Ah, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Welcome,
Okay.
sir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Arjun. I have some problem in that video, so I will use the mic only. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Welcome, Dr. Mahindran K.R. He's a senior scientist E1 in membrane biology lab at Rajiv Gandhi Center for Biotechnology, Trivandrum, and his education is BSc in Biotechnology from Padir University and MSc Industrial Biotechnology from the same university, and he went to PhD in Germany in biochemical engineering at Delft University. And he had a Marie Curie PhD fellowship. He got the fellowship in 2017, and in 2016 he received a Ramalinga Swamy Re-Entry Fellowship of the Department of Biotechnology, Government of India. And also, he's a recipient of Innovative Young Biotechnologist Award, Department of Biotechnology, Government of India. And in 2017, he received Early Career Research Award by the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India. And in 2019, he received Merck Young Scientist Winner in Biological Sciences. And in 2020, he is considered as the upcoming scientist featured in the Journal of Membrane Biology. And he started his career as a guest lecturer and teaching assistant in biophysical chemistry, Jacobs University, Germany. And then he went on to his postdoctoral research as a research associate at Jacobs University, Germany. And then senior research associate chemical biology, University of Oxford, UK. And in 2015, he became the group leader in single molecule biophysics lab under Professor Hagen Bailey, chemical biology, University of Oxford, UK. And in 2016, he got the prestigious DBT, Ramalinga Swamy Fellow, Rajiv Gandhi Center for Biotechnology, Thiruvananthapuram. And 2020, he joined as a scientist E1 in RGCB. And presently, he is having 3 PhD students, ongoing PhD students, and 1 student already succeeded his thesis. And to his credit, he has some 34 publications, research publications, of which he is the first author in 11 publications and co-author in 14 publications. And to his credit, another patent is there, a complete patent application, synthetic force is filed, India patent application. And the current activities of his research as a principal investigator in antibiotic permeation through porins in gram-positive bacteria at a single molecule level, funded by the Department of Biotechnology. The period is 16 to 21, 2016 to 2021. And another project he's having is controlled assembly of transmembrane alpha helix barrel ports for single molecule sensing, so funded by the DBT. And another project is single molecule biosensing with the hetero oligometric protein nanopores, funded by the DBT, same DBT. And another project is having is the structure determination and targeting of ubiquitously expressed membrane integrated from form of fluorine intracellular channels, same funded by the BT. And one more project is in structural assembly of functional transmembrane peptide nanopores. Same DBT is funding it. And on behalf of our organization, I welcome you, Dr. Mahendran, for this speech. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for the introduction. I think first time I'm hearing this long introduction for myself, so it's good. So today I will talk about the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine that's awarded in 2021 to David Julius and Adam Patapoutian. That's for the receptors for temperature and touch. I'm audible? It's clear? Can someone confirm?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So for me, this is a very, very exciting topic because I have done some work related to a mechanosensation during my postdoctoral time at Oxford. That's at 2011 or 12. So I was always amazed by this kind of properties, something called mechanosensitive channels. So by the word, mechanosensation means what we know is that you kind of put some pressure on anything. You see some kind of a movement, any kind of a movement, but that movement responds to your pressure. A simple example, usually when I teach my students, I show is this picture. All of us know the touch me not plan. Like you just touch it, it just closes. Then again it opens, you touch it, it opens, closes. This is a very, very simple fundamental thing, but it's very important thing. And this is also controls a lot of important processes in the cells. So instead of a plan, you imagine you have something like this in our body, in bacteria body, in lots of different organisms body, they respond to pressure. So this has been studied for quite a long time from 1990s. But the molecular basis, why, what is behind this process is not studied so far. And this is considered to be one of the very challenging projects just because the proteins that is involved in the mechanosensations are really very, very, very huge complex. So imagine you work in a membrane biology lab, from my experience. Sometimes you can take 3 years, 4 years, 6 years just to purify this protein out of the cell membrane. Then you have to study the properties. It's very, very challenging because the membrane proteins are not very easy to work with. They are hydrophobic. You take this protein, put in the water, they aggregate, they denature. So you have a lot of this kind of a challenges. And another thing excited me always is that is this mechanosensation is a medicine, physiology, or I think in terms of the chemistry. I'll explain you that in my last slide, how this could be also a chemistry. So I kind of see this topic as a fundamental science, and you have some kind of a basic principle which covers a physics, chemistry, biology, everything comes. For example, they study the mechanosensation. The technique both scientists have used is patch clamp. Nothing but you patch pipette, you measure the current with the amplifier. That is nothing but a simple physics. but the channel itself is a biological relevant because you take that from the cells. Where chemistry comes, because these are the channels that forms a pores. When the pore is formed, you add ions. That's the potassium chloride, calcium chloride. So these are the ions that goes through the spore. So in a way, it is very exciting because it covers kind of a very interdisciplinary research. You cannot say this is a completely a medicine-related field. It can be a very important chemistry. For example, I show you in 2003, Roderick McKenna. So he was awarded Nobel Prize in a chemistry for again the ion channels, the channel that conducts ions. Now, McKenna sensitive ion channels, what this they are discovered. They are also channels. Simply the channels response to pressure or channel response to temperature. So what I wanted to say here to start beginning is that this is a wonderful, fantastic fundamental science. It can be exciting to a biologist, it can be exciting to a physicist, it can be exciting to a chemist. So I want to give my talk in this angle. So I hope I'll be able to convince you guys in this angle. And I will share, I will explain about David Julius and Adam Patapoutian's work. And I would like to share also some kind of a work related with what I have done during my postdoctoral time in Oxford, so that I would like to bring a bridge between these ones. And I also feel very honored because Adam Patapoutian in his recent paper have cited our publication or my work. So that is one of the very proud moments for me as well, because I feel that this work kind of he have liked it or he have recognized it. So that's why he has cited my paper. So I kind of give a brief kind of a story about the work, what I have done related to this field. I hope it's clear, audience. Arjun?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes,
Yep.
just I was checking like that. It's fine.
Sure.
Okay, so to start with, I think that like all of us know that Albert Nobel, so he has always got excited for physics, chemistry, but also he likes biology, especially medicine. And he has in Sweden, before that he was in France. He has a lot of collaborations, especially he has invested a lot of collaborations to understand a lot of these medicines, especially the health and diseases. And he has made very clearly that one part to the person who shall have made the most important discovery within the domain of physiology or medicine. So that's what the physiology or medicine was a third prize area the Nobel have mentioned in his will. And it has a very important significance just because of its health related or disease related issues. So I want to give a very brief introduction about this Nobel laureates. So the David Julius was born in 1955 in New York, USA. He received his PhD in 1984 from the University of California, Berkeley. Later, he came back to the same institute. So he did the PhD in California, and he came back as a professor in California, and since 1989, he's working as a professor there. So what is his important discovery if someone asks in a very simple language? Because I was told that this will be not too much technical, but it's for a basic scientist. So simply what they have done is, or David have discovered is that he has utilized a compound called capsaicin, which is a pungent compound. You can really smell. It's from chili peppers. So basically you have this compound, and this compound induces a burning sensation. So when you have this, you feel like a burning sensation. Why you have this burning sensation? Anyone think about taking a chili and just eat? What do you feel? You feel sweet? You feel spicy? You feel burning sensation? So anyone have imagined what is the mechanism or molecular mechanism behind this process? It is nothing but you have the neurons, and the neurons, you have a sensor or a receptor. That receptor is very specific, so that this receptor kind of shows kind of an interaction with this capsaicin. So this capsaicin receptor is present in our senses. So he has identified that, and he shows also this sensor response to the heat. Now, to make things very simple, the sensor, what he's talking about is nothing, but they are channels. Channels are the proteins that forms pores in the membrane. That's how it comes to the membrane biology. And these channels or the pores in the membrane responds to the heat. Heat means what? Maybe the channel is closed when it is 25 degrees Celsius. When the temperature is raised to 43 degrees Celsius, you see the channel, which is very closed, opens up. That's why he says that this receptor responds to heat. So this is his one of the major discoveries. And Ardem Patapatian, he's very, very, very exciting, very interesting scientist. So he was born in 1967 in the Beirut, Lebanon. Then his youth, he's kind of because of this war, he moved to US and he received a PhD in 1996 in Caltech. Then since 2000, he was also a scientist at the Scripps in the California. So in principle, both of them are in California. They work more or less kind of a close similar field, independent of each other. So both of them belong to California. And what Ardem Patapatian have done is that you have cells, which is the cells you have again as sensors. Like how the David have a sensor for the capsaicin. Patapatian have also identified as sensors. So what is that sensor? So basically, let's say you have a sensor. You apply pressure, the sensor opens up. When you have no pressure, the sensor is closed. So what does this shows? The sensor responds to a pressure. That's how the pressure sensitive channels. So we call this as a piezo channel. That's why he say a novel class of sensors that responds to mechanical stimuli in the skin and internal organs. But what is wonderful about this research or his discovery is that he have identified this in the human because the piezo channels are present in the human. So that makes it very, very remarkable discovery. And he's one of the very, very active scientists. I think his first publication is in 2010 in Science, when he showed that the piezo channel is discovered. At that time, when he published this, there were a lot of controversies. People say that they are really channels, they're artifacts, maybe because of the pressure, something can happen like that. So he invested lots of time for the last 10 years, and now very happy that his work is recognized. So I will kind of wanted to give this is a very brief discovery. What I wanted to do is that I wanted to explain also what the work do in little bit of detail. So that kind of something what science they have done, I wanted to kind of give glimpse to the audience. So again, I talked about sensor. So to make it things very simple, the sensors are nothing but they are proteins. The proteins, or you can say the sensors or receptors or the proteins that forms channels in the membrane. So this is a very, very simple, nice slide. And if you look at it, what you see here is that you have a cell, you have a membrane, which is shown here in the white. Can you see my arrows? Right?
Yes.
Yes. So you can see here membranes. That's nothing but you have a lipid bilayer. So the lipid bilayer itself is a perfect insulator. So nothing from outside can go in because I mean like molecules, like hydrophilic molecules cannot go in, or ions cannot go in because they are simply very much insulated. In this membrane, you can see here a receptor or a sensor that is nothing but is a protein channel. So the David have discovered a channel that is called TRP1. It's very simple. This is a channel, TRP1 responds to heat, temperature. So I call this TRP1 as a temperature sensitive channels. So when you apply temperature, they respond. So you can see here the channel may be in the closed state. When you give temperature, maybe channel opens. And again, you have a channel, and the TRP1 responds to capsaicin, this compound. So when you have that compound, it activates. When you don't have compound, it does not activate. So it's a very simple fundamental mechanism, but it has a very important relevance in the normal cell process. Again, come to Patapatian's discovery. What you see here, straightforward from here, this TRP1 and the piezo 1, there's a very simple fundamental difference you can see when you look at the picture. What you see, first, the protein is very different. This looks very, very complicated. So it looks like a different structure, it undergoes different conformation, it changes like that. That's what you see. Second thing, what you see? Membrane. Did you see that membrane is deformed? Membrane is not like this. When the protein sits, membrane is kind of deformed. So this is a very fundamental mechanism. Why the membrane is deformed and why the protein is this in particular conformation and how this protein responds to a pressure. So this is the research question. You understand what? So you have now sensors here or the receptors. These are the protein channels and they're present in the membrane because they are the membrane, because they are membrane proteins. When you apply temperature, they respond. When they apply pressure, they respond. Now they are behind the molecular mechanism or the process by which this happens. And they discover that this is response to pressure and this response to heat or temperature. So finally, they start as the molecular basis of sensing heat, cold, mechanical force, which is fundamental for our ability to feel, interpret, interact with our internal and external environment. I give a very simple example that you, in a hot, nice summer day, you walk in a lawn where you have a lot of these grasses. And barefoot, there's no shoe or chapel. When you walk, you feel heat, right? When your leg touches that, you feel heat. You respond. Oh, it's heat. Immediately, if it's so hot, what you want to do? You want to go to somewhere which is not so hot. You stand. Here, simply you respond to the heat. So your body identifies it. You have sensors, neurons. You change. So that's how you interpret and interact with our internal, external environment. Similar way, you walk in the grass, in the barefoot. You walk. You feel the sense of touch. The grass comes like that. You feel some kind of a feel. You get it. Then you know this is because of the grass. You want to avoid it. So the laureates identify the critical missing links in understanding of the complex interplay between our senses and the environment, which can be simply, like I said, you walk to the grass or you walk in a very hot, sunny day in the road, you feel that. So these are very basic fundamental things. So I want to start with a work which I have done during my postdoctoral time at the University of Oxford. So where the role of the lipids in the mechanosensations. So what does that mean? This is a protein which is a mechanosensitive channel, temperature sensitive channel or mechanosensitive channels. And here you see these are the membranes that is composed of lipids. So I had a chance to work with Professor James Naismith and Ian Booth, who are one of the very pioneers in this field. And during that time, we have identified a mechanosensitive channel from a bacteria. This is very brief I give to you guys, so that then I move to the Nobel laureates work. So that I just wanted to bring a link. How the system I studied is very simple, and how from that you move to a very complex system. That's why I want to do a brief overview of this. And again, like I said, I was very honored because Adam Patapoutian have cited our work, our paper. So first thing I want to tell you is that I think that you can see here a lot of authors, but we are 4 authors: Christos, Caroline, Tim, and myself. We are all equally shared first authors for this paper. So why? To give you a very simple explanation, Christos worked on the X-ray crystallography of this protein. Caroline worked on the MD simulations of the protein. Tim Rasmussen worked on the fluorescence of this protein. Myself worked on the electrophysiology of the proteins. So what I wanted to say is that it's a very complicated mechanisms, although it's a fundamental science, but you need a support of a lot of interdisciplinary techniques to understand the fundamental basic science, which makes the topic extremely very challenging to work with. So we have worked on a mechanosensitive channel. Same like a piezo, we say it in human, we say mechanosensitive channel in the bacteria. Again, mechanosensitive channel means we apply a pressure, channel opens. Like I said, these are very complicated channel to work with, and you can look at the structure of these channels. You have a membrane part, you can see it here clearly, and you can see cytosol, and this is the part that spans the membrane, and the channel exists in the closed state and also open state. And I want to tell that Christos took 5 years to get the structure of this protein. in bacteria, what does this protein does? That's a fundamental science, right? So what happens? You see here that mechanosensory channel opens in response to pressure inside the bacterial cell. So what happens when the bacteria lives and when it's in the hypoosmotic shock? You can see here lots of food it has. So it's like it's about to burst because it's living in the very hypoosmotic shock. Lots of food, it ate so much. Then what happens? It builds up a pressure. So cells swells up as the turgor pressure increases. So when the cell swells up, when you have a lots of molecules, then what happens? You have a pressure, the bacteria senses, then this bacteria activates this mechanosensory channel, which you can see, which is represented in the arrows. And this blue color molecules, these are the solutes. Inside the bacteria, they go out. Then the bacteria is under normal conditions. Again, I explain you guys, when the bacteria is in a very hypoosmotic shock, you can see here a lot of blue color molecules, which are nicely nothing but simple solutes. They are there. It's nothing like you take a balloon, you blow out like that. It's about to go burst. Understand what? Something like that. Then what happens? When the bacteria is in hypoosmotic shock, it gets a message. It senses, oh, it's so much of pressure. I'm about to go burst. Then what happens? The bacteria activates these channels, which is represented here. And you can see the red line. So what happens? This blue color solutes that present the bacteria is released out. Balloon becomes kind of like in a very normal shape. Bacteria survives. So simply, I can say the mechanosensitive channel acts as an emergency valve to protect the bacteria. This is a very simple mechanism. But how to prove this? So you have to isolate this protein from the bacteria. That's what we are shown here. And if you look at the structure, you can see this is an heptameric protein. So 7 subunits come together and forms a channel. And you can see here, a kind of in the red color, some kind of a molecule. So when we saw this for the first time, we are all very confused. What is this? We see a protein, but we see another molecule sitting in this. So we are not sure what is this, what functional relevance this has. So we were very confused. Maybe it's an artifact, or maybe when we purify this protein, some detergent comes in like that. During that time, we all of us proposed that probably the protein mechanosensory channel has some pockets. Understand? It has some pockets. And you have a pocket, and the pocket there is some molecules that is a lipids. So we propose for the first time that the mechanosensory channel has a pockets, and the pockets has a lipids. So when the channel is closed, it has a more lipids. When the channel is open, the lipids moves out of the pocket. So what happens? Channel is closed, its lipid is there more. When the channel is opening, lipids moves out. So this is kind of a very simple fundamental mechanism we proposed. So what we say, the channel opening and closing with respect to the pressure is mediated by the lipids. So lipids from the membrane can also move in and out of the pocket. And we give evidence. The pocket is there, and the pocket we see the lipids. So this is a very biology, very interesting. Now, how come chemistry comes here? Right? So what we did is that we took this channel, we extracted this molecule out of this channels. Then we checked this molecules in the mass spec. You do the mass spec, you get the mass of the molecule, and the mass of the molecule matches exactly with the lipids corresponding to the bacteria. So when you isolate the protein from the bacteria, this mechanosensory channel comes with the lipids. And we extract the lipids, we check in the mass spec, we confirm that this channel has a pocket for the lipids. And this mediates the opening and closing of the channels. Can you see in the closed structure and the open structure? So this is one of the discoveries of us in 2015, which is what Adam Patapoutian have cited our work. So like how he says, cells respond to the pressure and this channel opens. We simply propose that when you have a pressure, it's not only the protein that responds by opening, sometimes the lipids can also move in and out of the protein. It can also open. So these days, if you type in the Google like that, or you'll see a lot of publications saying that lipid model, lipid moving in and out model, like that. You have a lot of publications there. And that time when we published, it was kind of a controversial. But we are very happy because at least now, I think that Patapoutine also kind of believes it's a very complicated process and lipids might play a role. So coming back. So why I want to tell or why I want to show this is because this all what I explained is happening in the bacteria. Imagine the Nobel laureates have done amazing kind of work which is related to our human health and disease, and to isolate the chance and to bring that in our human level is amazing. Because, for example, can open up huge things in the medicine field. So first, I want to say that organisms uses lipid bilayer, which is impermeable to ions. So lipid bilayer, nothing goes through. And the exchange of the molecules from outside and inside occurs with the channels or the transporters. That's what I have shown you. You have a membrane, protein sits in the membrane, and through the protein sits in this membrane, and membrane have a pore which opens up, molecules go. So both channels, what they have measured is nothing but the channels. They respond to the temperature, they open up. Another channel piezo responds to pressure, they open up. When they open up, molecules goes in and out. So like I said, mechanosensitive channels, gates. Gates is nothing but closing and opening. The changes in the tension in the membrane bilayers, they are found in bacteria, archaea, and eukaryotics, and which perform a variety of essential functions. Again, piezo channels, which is Adam Patapoutine's discovery, has a very, very important relevance in the cardiovascular disease. And recently only people recognize this. Still, I believe lots of work there to do because the Nobel Prize kind of opens up. But still, it's very, very complicated field because the pressure, it opens up. What is that? Then you have the TRP channel again. It's a major breakthrough. Again, additional temperature sensing receptors. So for last 25 years, from 1990s, the people or researchers have focused on this part, that mechanosensors in bacteria, how they open and they close. For last 10 years, you have very, very significant discoveries because people are not anymore interested in the bacteria sensing channels. They move towards the human piezo channels and how they work, and they try to correlate with this medicine. So now, before moving to the Nobel laureate, this year Nobel laureate first, I want to bring your attention because both the Nobel laureates used a technique to discover these channels. I'm very sure most of you know or heard about patch clamp technique. So that is in 1991, a Nobel Prize was again awarded to physiology or medicine for Erwin Neher and Bert Sakmann for discovering the function of the single ion channels in the cells. Again, ion channels is nothing but these are the protein channels. We have here mechanosensitive channels. So how they do these experiments? You have a cell, you have a patch pipette, the cells, you have ion channel. You can see it very clear in the cell. You have ion channels, and what you see, ion channel is closed, ion channel is opening, ion channel is again closed. And what you see here, simply it's current. So using a patch clamp technique, so you have a patch pipette and amplifier, you have an ion channel. Ion channel conducts ions, you measure the current, which can be seen very clearly. That channel is closed, channel is open. When the channel open, ions go through. When channel is closed, ions does not go through. So this is in 1991 because the same patch clamp technique only is used by both David Julius and Adam Patapoutine to discover their channels. And to show, you have see here channel is closed. So David, when he does experiments, what he does? Channel remains closed. What he has to do to open the channel? To open the channel, piezo, Patapoutine applies pressure. For David, to open his channel, he applies a temperature because channel responds to temperature. So what you see, a channel, if it's closed, current won't go through. When it opens, current goes through. When it will open, when you apply temperature. That's their discovery. So I'm trying to tell in a very simple case. So this is also, I felt this is one of the very, very big major discovery in this health, physiology and medicine field, Patchcraft, because it's even relevant. I'm going to show their papers and you will see even they have used the same technique to understand. Arjun, how long I have time?
How much time do you need actually, sir?
I just wanted to, based on that, I want to speed up things. I'm just going into this paper.
Maybe 10 or 15 minutes max.
10 minutes, right? Okay, I'll try to do this.
Okay.
So I gave you kind of a fundamental basics like that. I want to talk kind of a real science. So this is in 1997, David Julius. This is a major breakthrough paper where he says capsaicin receptor, a heat activated ion channel in the pain pathway. Pain pathway in the sense, I think, right, when you have a capsaicin, you feel some burning sensations. So this is his discovery. And to make it things very simple, you have capsaicin. This is a molecule which is from this tissue, and you have a sensory neurons here. And he wanted to understand how this chemical compound causes a burning sensation when we contact with the chili peppers. When you take the chili peppers, you have a capsaicin, and how it makes it this. Like I said, capsaicin was already known to activate nerves and causing pain sensations. And how this chemically actually exerted the function was the important thing. So you can see here again a membrane, TRP channel is closed. This is the TRP bone channel. What they have to do? Heat up. What you see? Channel is open. You can see very clearly a difference in the channel architecture. Here it's closed, heat up. So it is like a closed, heat up, it just opens. That's a temperature sensor. And what you see here? Ions. When ions goes through, you see a current. From the current, you know it is a heat activated ion channel in the pain pathway. And again, I'm not going to discuss through detail. They also have discovered, both the scientists also discovered something called TRPMA, which responds to the code, which I don't want to go in detail. So what the experiment Julius have done is, he has kind of screened a library of billions of DNA fragments corresponding to the gene that is expressed in the sensory neurons. So he has lot of millions of the DNA fragments. He was screening for it, library. Sensory neurons, which can react to either pain, heat, or touch. So he was screening for it. And he found a DNA fragment that is reacting to capsaicin. He was screening a library of molecules and he identified a gene. And what he took is that he expressed that gene in the cells that also normally do not react to capsaicin. So some expressed to capsaicin. We also have a control genes that the culture cells that do not react to capsaicin. Now, the single gene was identified, was able to make capsaicin sensitive, and the gene encoded an ion channel. So he called this ion channel as a capsaicin receptor, and later he knew that to TRP. Because why? He investigated very clearly that this protein's ability to respond to heat. When you heat up only, you see the channel open. And that's why he says that this is a heat sensing receptor that is activated at a temperature perceived as a pain. And again, if you look at the structure of the proteins, you can see, again, he saw the structure of this protein because 1997, he knows that he has identified the ion channel pathway of this. Later, to get more information, he also worked on it and he also saw the structure of this protein. I think it's a cryo-EM. It's a very high resolution cryo-EM. That's in 2013. And he showed you have these proteins and you have a lot of this alpha helices, and you can simply see the protein conformation is very distinct. It's in the very different shapes. So this is a side view, this is a top view. And what he wanted to know, channel maybe the close, it maybe look like this. Channel maybe it's when it's open, it may look like this. So simply to make it a very simple language, protein or channel undergoes large conformational changes in response to the temperature, and they open up and ions. So here you have these responses which is expressed in terms of like in a lot of these graphs and plots. So here you can see capsaicin, habanero, this from this one, Thai green, wax, Pablo verde. So what happens? This capsaicin extracts from different varieties of the peppers are expressed in the oocytes. Oocytes, and this oocytes has what? TRP channels. And if you look at the capsaicin signal, habanero signal, Thai green signal, you see they show very good, nice activity. Look at the wax, you see the line more or less like a straight. You look at this Poblano verde, again you see a straight. So what happens here? The relative potencies of the pepper extract are plotted, the values are normalized, and you can see when this extract, when it is in the water injected cells, which don't have TRP1, there's nothing happening. When you have a cells that expresses TRP, you see this signals, which is expressed in different units, which you can see for capsaicin, it's very, very high. Whereas you go for this W wax and Poblano verde, it's simple. So from the cell experiments, he identified a gene that codes for the TRP1 channel. He does his experiments expressing in the cells, and when he had capsaicin, he see how the cells responds. Why the cell responds? The cells have this receptor for the capsaicin. So it kind of shows a very good high specificity. Now, I want to show this because it's a channel. Like this is fundamental basic thing. This is what they discovered. The TRP channel is closed. Now you see schematic, it's open. So what experiment you do to prove this? Right? What if it remains closed? Whatever you do, it remains closed. How you prove it? Right? For that, they have used patch clamp technique to measure the current. So when a channel is closed, current is going to be 0. So you can see in the D channel, before adding capsaicin, you see a straight line. You add capsaicin, what you see? You see spikes. You see kind of a spikes up, which shows channel activity. So the TRP1 or VRN channel responds to the capsaicin and shows this signals. Now again, you wash capsaicin. What happens? Again, channel comes back to 0. So they studied electrophysiological properties of capsaicin activated currents in the VRN. In 1997, Nature paper, when he first discovered, he called this as a VR1. Later, he changed that to TRP, the transfected mammalian pig cells. Then single channel, because he studies in the single channel. And the single channel capsaicin evoke responses, and he studies in this 150 millimolar NaCl. The ions that go through is sodium chloride. And again, you can see here, it's non-selective cation channel, means it's not particularly selective for any ions. But cation means probably sodium ions go through. So you can see here, 60 volt, these are the different voltages. They measure it, positive voltages, negative voltages, and you can see spikes or channel openings. That's what they are shown. And closed state is shown in the dotted line. You can see very clearly. When channel is closed, it's a dotted lines. If you look at the negative voltages, you can see the dotted lines is closed, and this top is open state. And again, you measure this at different voltages. For example, 20 millivolt, 40 millivolt, 60 millivolt. What you see? 20 millivolt, your current is corresponds to approximately 1.5. When you apply 60 millivolt, you have a current around 4 pico. So you apply more voltage, you have higher current, more current ions go through. Which proves again, this is a channel. Channel, sensor, receptor. You can call it whatever way. Like I said, it's a patch clamp, amplifier. You measure a current, Ohm's law, voltage curve. It's a physics. It's a beautiful physics. Again, you talk to a chemist. He will say it's a chemistry. You add a blocker, capsaicin you're adding. Cathepsin is closing the channel, opening the channel. So you open, close. It's a binding. It's a binding affinity. And again, you can say cation selective channel, that is sodium chloride. So sodium ions goes through, chloride ion goes through. This part, I want to talk about this Adam Patapoutian's work, where in 2010, he had discovered two channels, piezo 1 and piezo 2, which are essential components of distinct mechanically activated cation channels. Cation channels means I can say chloride ion does not go through when you do patch clump studies, potassium ions go through, or sodium ions go through, or calcium ions go through. It basically depends on the channel structure and properties. And again, mechanically activated. Channel is there. It remains closed. Here, you apply temperature, you heat up. Anything is going to happen? Nothing. Channel remains very close. What you have to do? You apply a pressure in the experimental setup. So what you do is that you have a cells expressing the piezo channels. You patch it with a patch pipette. You apply pressure. What you see, if it's a piezo channel, the response to the pressure channel which is closed will open. So here again, piezo 2 ion channel is a sense of touch shown to play a key role in the critically important sensing of the body position motion. And you have two channels. They play a very important role, like I said, the blood pressure, respiration, urinary bladder control. And I think this study is more related to health. It's just started now. It's lots of people are working towards on this. So far, it's not so well known, but now lots of people. And again, you can see in the symbol graph here, you have a piezo channel. Whenever you have a piezo channel, what you see? Membrane is deformed. It's not like this. And it's closed. And when the channel is open, what you see here, the protein shape is very different in the closed, and the protein shape here is also very different. So it is like this, and the membrane is flat. When you apply pressure, membrane becomes a little bit of normal. Simply is because protein also undergoes large conformational changes. So the protein have to undergo large conformational changes to be open. For that, you have to apply a pressure. So how he does this? So he also, like I said, this mechanosensation is a, like I said, I did one of work in bacteria. Already people know mechanosensation is happening, you apply pressure, you open a channel. But in the vertebrates, that's an important question because largely it is unknown. And to identify how these receptors are activated by the mechanical stimuli, he kind of identified again, kind of he measured the electrical signals when the individual cells are poked with the micropipette. So he has a cells, the gene for the piezo channels, and the micropipette, he applies a pressure, channel opens. So again, he screened for a lot of these genes like that. So these genes were inactivated one by one and he activated for mechanosensation. And he identified a single gene that rendered the cells insensitive to poking with the micropipette. And he said a newly entirely unknown mechanosensitive ion channel. Don't forget it. He don't call this as a piezo. He called this as a new entirely unknown mechanosensitive ion channel. And he gave this name piezo because of the Greek word, it's pressure. Later, he identified also another protein called piezo 2, which is present in the sensory nerves on a very high level. And he says both these ion channels are directly activated by the applying pressure on the cell membranes. When you apply pressure, the channel responds, undergoes large conformation changes, opens, ions go. So you prove it. Again, he has to do the patch clamp technique to prove it. So simply, if you look at the traces, that when he's applying the pressure here, you can see here, I think it's shown very small. This is a patch cell. Can you see? You can see here in the C, on the top of the C, like a patch pipette. This is. And when he applies the pressure, what you see? The channel is closed, channel is opening. Channel is closed, channel is open. The 0 millivolt, when you don't apply any voltage, current is going to be 0. Minus, you see the current is what? So single channel currents induce negative pressure with a pipette, minus 80 to minus 50 millivolt, and he calculates the current voltage. You apply a voltage, you see the current in this 0 to a sense. And he says the single channel conductance. What is single channel conductance means? When you have a single channel in the membrane. When you patch this cell, and when you have a single channel, it gives the current of 22.9 picoseconds. So he knows, he takes a cell, he patches it, and when he applies the pressure, channel opens up, it shows 22.9, he knows it's a single channel. When 22.9 into 2, 45.8, he knows you have 2 channels. And again, he has to apply pressure. You can see very clearly. If you apply pressure, you have an opening. If no pressure, you can see here it's no pressure, channel is closed. Again, they did the patch clamp experiments. But these structures, what I have shown is all very schematic. People like to see the real structure. You want to understand the real molecular basis of what's happening. So it's very important that you have to have kind of a really very high resolution structures. So he have also discovered the structures, and he used the cryo-electron microscopy for the mouse piece. And the channel is homotrimer because 3 subunits. They are shown in the gray. 1 subunit, 2 subunits, 3 subunits, and these are some kind of domains. And these are the side view. You can look at it. Channel top view looks different. Channel side view looks different. And you have kind of this kind of 2 different models that's proposed, which is nothing but when you have model 1, the membrane is deformed and the channel remains in particular conformations. And the model 2 piezo 1 is innate in planar to the membrane, where channel kind of extends laterally the membrane. So you can see the membrane is in different positions. This is very, very big. To make a membrane bend, a channel undergoes conformation. It's a very, very complicated process. So like I said, he kind of worked in detail and he kind of worked with a lot of molecular models. And he showed channel is closed here. When channel opens, membrane is not deformed and it undergoes large conformational change. That's for the piezo 1. Piezo 2 here again proposed a model. Again, more or less the channel conformation is more or less same, but they have a little bit of functional balance. And in the cells, he did also experiments in the cells, and he also showed, for example, the disruption of actin polymerization, because actin polymerization is very important. And you have a molecule called cytochafrin that shifts a piece of channels mechanosensitivity to higher force. So when you have this actin polymerization, you have to have a very high mechanical force to activate this channels. So these are some discoveries. I want to show that he works in the patch clamp with the cells. He also do a lot of other kind of complicated experiments involving a lot of cellular roles like an actin cytoskeleton also to understand how this piezo 1 channel responds to mechanical force, but in the intact cells. So finally, I want to end up that TRP1 channel, temperature, heat point, piezo, you have touch and perceptions. They have a lot of very important physiological functions in our body, like a temperature, pain, and you have for the piezo urination, respiration, blood pressure. Like recently, piezo channels have attracted a lot of attention in the cardiovascular diseases. So to sum up, the discovery of the TRP1, TRP8 piezo channels by these years have allowed us to understand how heat, cold, mechanical force initiate nerve impulses to allow us to pursue, adapt to the world around. TRP channels are central for our ability to perceive the temperatures. Whereas a piezo 2 channel endows us with a sense of touch, temperature sensitive channels, pressure sensitive channels. And also they contribute to numerous additional physiological functions depending on the temperature or mechanical stimuli. And again, the intensive ongoing research originated from this, because its origin, you can see showing a protein itself with a membrane undergoing changes. I don't think so. You have any other different proteins are there to show this kind of a function. This kind of so large deformation happens. And he has shown the patch clamp experiments. He have identified the genes, but they also have shown the structure. They show a real cryo-EM structures. And the knowledge is used for the developed treatments for the wide range of the disease conditions, including chronic pain. So I'm going to believe that here they have discovered a lot of fundamental mechanisms. Now from this, I think there will be a lot of push from a lot of different researchers to go towards health and disease. So like I said, 1991 patch clamp discovered for ion channels. After that, you see a big boom with ion channels. I believe the same is going to happen with this field. And I want to end because I talked about here mechanosensitive ion channels. It's in physics, it's in physiology and medicine. In 2003, Roderick McCann, in 2003, he was awarded again a Nobel Prize for his studies in the ion channels. That time, he again discovered a fundamental mechanisms So this is a potassium channels. And why potassium channel allows only potassium ions to go through? Like again, I said, mechanosensitive channels is nothing but they're also ion channels. They conduct ions. So here, Roderick worked, and he was awarded the Nobel Prize in the chemistry for this ion cycle, especially for the potassium ion channels. So this topic is kind of a very, very interdisciplinary or transdisciplinary. Everyone can fit it. It's a chemist, physicist, or beats biologist. And what is surprising is that he has published a very fantastic work in 2015. And again, he has discovered also a mechanosensitive ion channel from the human truck channel. So this was kind of, I think he's still working on this mechanosensitive channels and with the pressure. And lots of people thought probably he might get again another Nobel Prize or something like that, because he's again working on this ion channels. From that, he moved to mechanosensitive channels and he working on the human truck channels. And you can see very clearly like a structure he solved. And what you see here is that you have a channel. Non-conductive means closed. So you can see the green color molecules are the ion. So they are from the one end, they cannot come to other end because you can see here a lipids that is as a gate that closes. When you apply a membrane tension, this gate is removed and ions, the green color, goes. Again, it is nothing but opening and closing of the channels, and this channels response to the membrane tension, that is nothing but pressure. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. It was really interesting to listen to your talk. So even though it was really fundamental research, and you were your talk was so interesting that the underlying mechanism could be really understood actually. Thank you, sir. Now the platform is open for questions. So the participants, if anyone of you has any question, please you can either put it in the chat box, or you can.
I have presented there. I have presented their research, so I try my best how they could answer something. It's not my field, but it's very exciting.
Yeah. Yes, sir. So if any of you have any question, you can write it in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself and interact with the participant. Yeah. So just so as you have rightly pointed out, the application of this work will be on determining new mechanisms related to disease and all. So what are the immediate things you will see, or we can see as a result of these kind of discoveries? Like what do you expect, sir?
I think what is the point here is that I think that this channel's fundamental mechanisms like that. So what they do inside the cell itself is little bit is very complicated. It's not so clear like that. So they open up, they closes, they open up, they closes. So the idea is that if this channel opens up, I think like that and all, and it has kind of some kind of an important health conditions or something like that. For example, when this channel expresses lots or something like that, because of that, it has some cardiovascular stuff or something like that. So in that scenario, what we want is that maybe we want to make the channel close. Then we can think about adding a lot of blockers, developing the blockers. Or maybe if this channels like TRP channel is a very temperature active sensors, so you feel the heat, pain and all things like that. Then what you have to do is that maybe you discover an antagonist for a capsaicin.
Okay.
That should relieve it like that, the pain like that. But the pain is not just important to discover, one important small stuff like that. But this pain may be related to a lot of other different organs like that, different cell lines like that, and all what they grow and all that. That's the field.
Okay.
And you cannot limit this. It can be the liver, brain cells, everywhere you have this expression, and everywhere it can be very different.
Yeah, exactly. I think related to this discussion, we have one question in the chat box.
Yes.
Can we make use of this technique in the delivery of the drug?
I think it's a bit very complicated. I think for this bacteria mechanistic channel in 2010, some people have attempted, for example, this channel to open so that it responds Then you can kind of tag some drugs fluorescently labeled like that. Then you can see they go into the cell through this mechanistic channel like that or like that. But I don't think that's a fundamental system here, because people or scientists don't consider this as a pore. It's opening that you can allow anything to go in.
Okay.
They're more looking into the activity of this channel with respect to more like health like that. But this is a little bit of it very challenging. I think that this drug delivery and all things, because the channel is not for that. That is the sense. And again, it's a bit very complicated because these channels are integral membrane proteins. They're very huge. They can denature, how they respond. A lot of things is very, very complicated. So I will say for the drug delivery system, I will take something very simple channels on the pores, but not to go with such a complicated systems. I see for a drug delivery to put in a cell, how they express it, how they reconstitute. It's all can be complicated. But what I see is that for the bacterial and mechanistic channels, people have attempted. There are a lot of studies, but that started a long time back from 2010. But I don't see a very good big progress in that direction.
And also, so related to that, like, so what kind of molecules, or what is the size of what are the sizes of the molecules that can pass through these?
That's very that's a very good question actually. I think for the moment, I think that they say that ions goes through. It is for potassium ions or calcium ions or sodium ions go through. And I think that these channels are very smart. This bacteria or this where these channels are there, they're made for some particular reason. So they won't allow any molecule to go through, because they have particular structure, and the structure means you have protein, they have particular amino acids. These all are evolved in nature, and anything cannot go through just like that.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean? So I think they're made for some reason, and I'm not thinking that they are involved in the molecular transport. Maybe small ions can go through, but I'm not sure about this molecules. Like that. You could add some peptides and all stuff like that, but I think they won't respond that easily.
Okay.
So I'm not. I will say for batch clamp studies, we know ions go through. Like as you say, for example, TRP is a TRP responds to a lot of calcium. Lots of people do the calcium imaging and they see like that how they react or something like that. Or the piezo channel is like a sodium chloride ions. They see they conduct or something like that. But I give an example. If it's a sodium channel or sodium sensitive channel, you do a patch clamp. You put a sodium ions, you see the current. You replace the sodium ions with the chloride, you don't see anything. Simple line.
So specific. Yeah.
Very specific.
Okay. Sir.
And again, like don't forget that structure of these proteins is very amazing. To get these proteins out of the membrane and to do a structure is an absolutely like it's a very big pain. You
yeah, definitely. I mean,
like it's like a very, very big proteins. They are hydrophobic. They can denature. They can undergo conformation changes. And the conformation changes, people can say that's an artifact. Who will believe it?
Yeah. Yeah, we can really understand, I think, the pain behind proposing a model.
Yes.
Especially
exactly.
when.
See, I myself remember that. I think when Adam Patapatian's paper, and I see the membrane is deformed, I was not believing this sort of membrane undergoes such large changes. Such large changes. How nature? How this like that? Just you apply pressure, everything changes. Not only protein, membrane also.
So interesting.
And I believe like patch clamp 1991, this will result in a lot of huge this thing for the field.
Okay.
Like I said, there can be a Nobel Prize for chemistry also for another ion channels. You never know, because that's chemistry also.
Okay, sir. Okay. So thank you once again for your wonderful talk and your wonderful time to give this lecture. So on behalf of the Kerala State Council for Science, Technology and Environment and all the participants who joined us today, I would like to express a sincere gratitude to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a nice day. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you all participants for joining us today. Thank you. And happy Diwali to all of you. Thank you. Bye-bye.